Happy Sunday! Welcome to the Scoop World Order. A new superstar quarterback is in the fold for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Nevada Buck broke that Julian Sayin is officially in the fold. A five-star, number one overall quarterback. This kid is different. Very excited about him. Wow. Will Howard, Bill O'Brien, Julian Sayin. What an incredible run for that quarterback room that we are on right now. Super excited. We're going to get into all of that. Kind of take inventory of where this 10th spot is. Is it James Laurinaitis? Is it Jason Taylor? We're going to get into all of that, and we're going to take your super chats, your questions. As always, we appreciate you guys. Happy Sunday. We're going to crank this before these NFL games kick off shortly, but we just appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. If you have a question, fire up those super chats. The super chats are a great way to support our Pay It Forward Fund. It has been fantastic. We have a ton of new members thanks to you guys, so thank you for your generosity towards the military and towards our police force. So we appreciate that. If you have someone that could be a candidate for it, please send us an email at buckeyescoop@gmail.com, and we will get that all squared away. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoy this content, hit that like button. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you're watching with. And God, is this the best run that we've ever had in Ohio State history? Gonna bring in Nevada Buck. Nevada, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. Julian Sayin is a guy that it's funny. It's like they almost have to reclassify when they do these recruiting rankings, because I think if you added him plus Air, you basically have two five-star quarterbacks in some services. Julian's consensus five-star. Air was five-star, I think, on one of the services. But you basically have two five-star quarterbacks in the class now. To me, this is the number one recruiting class in America, adding Julian Sayin to it. He was at Bama for about 5 minutes. But your thoughts on him? You've seen him throw in person live at the Elite 11. Talk a little bit about his talent. And, again, you've seen Quinn Ewers live. You've seen Raiola live. Talk a little bit about Julian Sayin.
Well, yeah, I've seen all those guys live. And truth be told, I liked Raiola a lot. He was good in that 7-on-7 setting. Obviously, Quinn Ewers is really good in that 7-on-7 setting. Julian Sayin's better. I mean, he's just better in that setting. Now, let me also add a little data point on top of that in terms of Julian plays at Carlsbad High. Now, Carlsbad High is not a traditional Southern California high school football power. It's not one of the teams that you think of when you think of one of the great teams that are out here. And there are some great teams, some great programs. And obviously, the biggest of the big dogs out here in Southern California for years and years has been Mater Dei. Everybody knows Mater Dei. Well, Carlsbad played Mater Dei, and Mater Dei got beat 48-14 by Carlsbad. And Zane just kind of just violated them. So it just shows you the power of this guy and how good he is, that he can just elevate a team to go out there and just absolutely mollywop, Mater Dei. He's the real deal. And the scenario that I've been told on this is, when Bill O'Brien came in, that this was one of the things that he asked. He's like, look, I know we can get this kid. I know this kid wants to follow us. And Brian was initially a little bit resistant about potentially, having the impact on his quarterback room, given the assurances that Ryan Day had made to some of the players in this room. But Bill kind of prevailed on him in terms of, hey, look, I'm the guy. You've got to trust me in terms of this. This guy's different. This guy's a different level. I can work with him. I can take him to another level. And Ryan relented, and they went and they got him, and that's why he's here, and that's why he's coming. And this is a big one. And this is a big one. Like I said, to have a kid like that who can single-handedly transform a program and make them amongst the elite of the elite in Southern California, you have no idea how difficult that is. And Julian Sayin was that kind of transformational, transitional type of quarterback. So I couldn't be more excited about having him as part of the Buckeyes.
Yeah, and we have some of his highlights rolling in the background for those of you on YouTube. I think that, it's tough. There's people that are like, does this hurt Air Nolan? What does this do? And for me, I'm like, look, in modern college football with the transfer portal, Ryan Day is going to put as many monsters against each other in that little quarterback room, and whoever comes out that door as the winner is going to be a first-round pick. So, Will Howard obviously is the guy that everyone projects to start this year. Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan, Lincoln Keenholz, Devin Brown. These guys, they all got to fight for time. And, I don't think Devin's going to give up to Will, but I mean, obviously, Ryan wanted Will Howard, went out and got Will Howard. They paid Will Howard. So obviously I project him to be the starter. I think he's got more natural talent and he's had much more production than Devin Brown. So he's way ahead there. But that'll still be a competition. And then, Devin will have the decision to make after spring if he is competitive with Will or not. But then you get down to the younger crew, Lincoln Keenholz, who's got one career start under his belt, Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan. And it's going to be real interesting. And I'm telling you, like, this is a time of the year where the competition starts like now. These guys start doing 6 a.m. workouts in a few weeks. They're in the weight room. They're in the film room. They're getting evaluated constantly, cognitive-wise, how quickly they can pick the playbook up. Obviously, Air's been here for about, a week and a half maybe. Julian isn't here yet. But, the competition starts like today. It doesn't start in the first practice of spring ball in helmets and pads. Like these guys, Bill O'Brien is not going to waste any time getting to know, how much these guys can handle, what kind of pressure they can deal with. And again, like when you're in the Woody Hayes and it is the winter, a lot of these meetings aren't just comfy, hey, how's it going? Like, they start putting the screws to these kids early to see what they can handle, see how they deal with pressure, put them up on the whiteboard, the grease board, the chalk. It's not a chalkboard, it's a grease board. You use grease markers, but we would have guys get up in front of the entire meeting room and install plays. Like we'd get Jack Muhort, go install 13 book, which is our signature tight zone play, and you got to install it like you're Ed Warner or you're me or you're Urban Meyer doing it, and you got to do all the vernacular. You got to do it thoroughly, and that was always a good way to teach guys the playbook because nobody knew who was going to be the next guy to get cold called on or the next guy that had to go up to the, cause you got to go up in front of your peers, man. You don't look like a doofus and not know your plays. So this will be a good test for these young quarterbacks. I'm sure Ryan Day and Bill O'Brien, they're not here to screw around this year. And they know that if they have first round quarterback play this year, then good chance we win a national championship. So again, I love this. I think anybody, who had a choice, like a true choice, if you put a gun to your head and had to risk everything between Air and Julian, you're probably taking Julian. But we have them both now, which is great. And they can compete and may the best man win. Because, if Air beats out Julian, then God bless him. Like I said, that's why, once these kids get to college, it's all square, it's all even. And now you every day have a chance to compete versus these guys. But this kid is special. He's a good athlete. He's got great touch. You see him running right here. Again, you want like the road to my heart. This is it right here. Pocket breaks down a little bit. Guys aren't open. Everyone's running off in man coverage. So you see the DBs are turning their backs to the quarterback, and he sees all this green space. And guess what? Let's go get a first down. Let's go slide. Like we don't. You can dive. I'd rather slide feet forward than land on his shoulder. But that's a first down. And that's something that when you watch Lamar Jackson and you watch Pat Mahomes today, you watch Josh Allen today, Baker, Goff. These guys all will do that and they convert a first down. And again, that's impossible to defend as a defense. And Eric can run too. Obviously, Air's he's a freaky mobile guy. Lincoln can run, but I think that it adds an element to the offense that I'm excited about. Nevada, this has been as good of an offseason as I've seen. We got a couple super chats popping up. Guys, send these super chats in. Appreciate you. Best day ever, 474. I love the 74 in the number. Thank you for the deuce. Appreciate you, my man. How do you tell Court what that number 2 is going to Caleb Downs? I don't know. Court is like a really nice kid. He's had a really weird career. He was a captain in 2022 and didn't play at all, got hurt. He's a grad student now. He literally graduated last spring. So, he's going to probably be a doctor by the time he's out of here. But, I think that there's got to be a conversation. And, Caleb plays. Here's the thing. If you're in a single digit and you don't play, then I think you should have to give that up. And it's nothing against Court. Everybody loves him. He's a great kid. He's got a big neck. But they don't trust him enough to put him on the field. And again, that's not me being a big meanie. I'm not the coach. I don't control playing time. I do a podcast and run a website. But, if you're going after Caleb Downs and that kid wants number 2, then Court will put you in 22 or 92 or 202 or whatever. But again, like when you get a superstar, it's just like in free agency in the NFL where, if they sign some superstar quarterback or draft a guy number 1 overall and some backup dude's got the number that he wants, then that guy's getting a new number. Your thoughts on that, Nevada? Because I mean, I know we've never talked about like numbers with you. Some of these guys are real sentimental with their numbers, but and again, I think Court's a nice kid, but if you don't play, you shouldn't be allowed to have a single digit. But your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Court's an extremely nice kid. I mean, Court is on the whatever the continuum of not so nice to nice. He is at the end of the nice side of it. So he's a smart kid. He's a nice kid. I think he'll recognize on his own. Nobody will have to prompt him on the wisdom of maybe surrendering that number to somebody like Caleb Downs. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Court is a great kid, all about the team. And so I'm sure he'll do the right team thing and try to do it. And like I said, I don't think he'll need much encouragement to do the right thing.
And I mean, I know he's on the roster, but man, he's a guy that could easily take a medical hardship because he's missed 2 seasons with ACLs, and I mean he's missed a lot of time. So at some point when your knees keep giving out, it's time to probably move on in life. And there's nothing wrong with that. It happens to every football player ever. Jared Haddle, what's up, brother? The pride of Chillicothe. Appreciate you for the 5, brother. Hearing it's only getting started, boys. More to come. Go Bucks. Yeah, I mean, these dominoes, again, with the coaching stuff, it's amazing because, you look at all of the different coaching moves where San Jose State got a new coach and a guy is coming, South Carolina's coach is moving. I mean, every time a coach leaves somewhere, and it could be a lesser job, a new transfer portal opens up. So it's like, I wish that I had like a giant map of the United States that was interactive, that had like a giant little portals popping up, like over Washington or over Arizona or over, I don't even know who got the Arizona job. I know somebody got it, but it's like every time a coach moves from a smaller program up the ladder, like if you go, like from Arizona up to Washington down to Tuscaloosa, there's a new crop of kids that potentially could be moving. And it's completely insane. It's amazing. Like for what we do, I mean, we're just like, oh God, does Arizona have a good tackle, a good D tackle, a good O tackle that maybe we could pilfer? I mean, it's truly bizarre. And there's no other sport that's like college football where, if a coach leaves, all of a sudden, it'd be like if in the NFL a coach got fired and everybody became a free agent all of a sudden. Like it'd be complete madness. But that's where we're at. And again, we've gotten very sophisticated with the collectives, with Ryan Day, with evaluating these guys, and some guys we don't have a shot at. I mean, obviously there was this pie in the sky thought that we'd get Caden Proctor, and again, I tell you guys all the time, because a lot of people are dumb and a lot of people spread false narratives because they have to, they basically have to placate people in the Woody Hayes and spread their false narratives and their fake news. And, a lot of these big guys, these big tackles, these big guards, these big D tackles, they are mama's boys and they stay close to home. So Caden Proctor, who was the #1 tackle in the country, started almost every game for Alabama last year. He's got a nice upside. He's got to get in shape. He's got to lose about 35 pounds. That kid goes from Alabama, starting left tackle, back to Iowa to play in the 150th rated offense in the country, simply because he is a homebody. He did, and again, God bless him. It's his life. It's free will. But why on earth would you go, if you're that good of a player and you could literally go to any program in the country, why would you go play for the worst offense in America and just score 10 points a game, lose, and be miserable? I think that's insane. When Ohio State would take you with loving arms, but again, the homebody thing is hard to overcome, and it's not an excuse. It's just reality. I lived in it when I did it for 3 years, and some of these kids, man, they got a girlfriend. You got to remember, like, O-linemen are always like the dorkiest guys in the world. They're big, they're fat. They got some girlfriend who's probably average from high school that's, going to the local community college or whatever, and they're in love, and they think they're going to marry her because no other girl in the world will ever talk to them. So they stay close by, or they got mama and daddy or whatever. So, I mean, I lived this and I'm like, good God. I was like, dude, when you get to college, like, you're not even going to remember that girl's name. But some of these guys are convinced because they're big, dopey, fat dudes. And again, that's why offensive linemen are always the dorkiest, fattest dudes in recruiting. So they're not sophisticated like Brian Hartline. They're not all smooth, driving Ferraris with veneers and that type of thing. They're the fattest, dorkiest guys in the world. So, when people are like, well, why isn't he a dynamic recruiter? I was like, well, have you looked at him? I mean, come on. Like, it's not hard to see. Like, those guys are the guys that are standing on the walls at the dance in high school. So there's my piece. Nevada, do you think we're going to get more offensive line help in the portal between now and the season? I'll set it over under it. Do we add one more guy, or do you think we're good?
No, I think we do add one more guy. And the only reason I say that is because I know Ohio State's looking. And given the quality of their efforts this offseason, I am not betting against them finding a guy because their stated objective is to find one more. They've gotten just about everybody that they've gone. I mean, they're being so successful right now that they're having Lane Kiffin complain about how successful they are with NIL and with transfer, which is, I mean, that's high compliment. They're coming from the Laner. It doesn't get any better than that. I love Lane too. So it's like, when Lane's like pointing at Ohio State as like an example of what's going on, then you're doing things right. But no, their stated objective, their internal objective, what they've communicated is they're going after one more tackle. And like I said, I think it'd be a lousy bet to bet against them. So I'd say, yep, one more tackle. Not sure who, not sure from where, but they're casting a wide net right now.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, you just don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of movement going on that potentially could be going on. Again, there's a big report out that a lot of NFL teams are interested in Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator. So again, if he bounces, is there a guy at UCLA that we want to snag? I mean, again, like, as these NFL teams start to pick their head coaches, start filling out their staffs, like, there's no reason that some of these college coaches might not get jacked or go up to the league or whatever, because the musical chairs aren't done yet. And that's the thing it's just amazing with this portal thing. And like, I think they'll eventually get a handle on it, but man, when these coaches leave and you get that 30-day window, I mean, Bama's lost 30 guys to the portal. Like, think about that. So, as much as people care about recruiting and recruiting rankings and class rankings and all that, it's the most pointless, worthless endeavor in the world is to cover recruiting now, because everyone at Alabama was real excited about the recruiting class they got the last 2 years. And a lot of the superstars, Caleb, Caden Proctor, Julian Sayin, those are all 5-star guys, just waltzed out the door to go elsewhere. And they're stuck with nothing. They're getting a bunch of Washington guys, though. They got the quarterback, they got an offensive lineman from there, but it's totally wild. Another super chat. Albie OHIO, thank you for the 5. The best time to buy tickets for the game on November 30th at the Team Up North, day of online or now. I can't miss this one. Nevada, I know that you and I are pretty much in lockstep with this. I always try, if I'm going to a game, I don't care what game it is, where it is, I just get online and wait till as long as humanly possible. And with Ticketmaster on your phone now, like, you don't have to go to the guy on the corner who's got the fake tickets and get scammed or whatever. You can literally buy it, and eventually the market does crash. I think the worst time to buy it is like the week leading up to the game and 2 weeks out from the game. And because people always set these insanely stupidly high prices on tickets like that. Because, again, this is going to be among the largest Michigan games, one of the biggest tickets ever, just because we're on this cold streak where we've lost 3 straight, and we have an all-time team, and it's going to be senior day for JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer and Trey Henderson and Imak, all these great kids that decided to shun the NFL and come back. And Michigan is going to be a smoking, wounded corpse walking into the Woody or into the shoe, and people are going to have bloodlust, and they're going to want to see us whoop the absolute crap out of those guys. And we're going to. So people want to be there for it, which I totally understand. But I wait as long as humanly possible, man. I'd wait till kickoff to get. I mean, I'd wait till the game's already kicked off to get into the stadium. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? Again, I just think waiting is the best thing because these people that set these ticket prices, they pray that you're going to get anxiety that, oh my God, there's no way I'll be able to get into the stadium unless I get my ticket like 2 days before or a week before or whatever. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm gonna tell you what the reality is, and I'll also follow it up by saying I don't always practice what I preach, but yes, if you can wait, you will always get in, and you will always get a better ticket at a better price. Always. I've never been shut out of any event, and I've gone to everything. Having said that, if you want surety, you can pay for surety and buying tickets in advance. And a classic example of that was I took my kids back. We went to a Cavaliers game, back-to-back Cavaliers games, and I wanted those tickets in hand. And so we bought our 4 tickets, for the Golden State game on Friday night and the Bucks game on Saturday night. And I'm like, oh, we got our tickets. And then just for fun, we looked at like an hour before the game. We looked at tickets, and we could have got 4 tickets, better seats for about 1/4 of what we paid for them if we had just waited. So yes, it's better to wait. No, I do not always wait, but if you can do it, if you have the internal constitution to do it, you will always get a better deal, and you will never get shut out. That's Nevada Bucks rules on ticketing.
I mean, I remember when you and I were in Toronto with your business partner, and we were going to a Leafs game, and I didn't have a ticket. You guys all had tickets, and I was like, well, I'm just going to scalp one. I waited till after the puck dropped, and like I couldn't believe how good of a ticket I got. And in Toronto, like hockey is really expensive, but it was like I was sitting like right next to the glass, and it was like $100 or something crazy. And like when I was looking hours beforehand, those were like $800 tickets. But people that scalp tickets for a living, the last thing they want to do is be stuck holding a ticket and they get nothing out of it. So again, you can use their greed against them, and I think that it's the way to go. Nevada, is this when you analyze this roster and this team, for one, I mean, you guys are good giddy in the chat. How many of you guys are NCAA 24 players like on Xbox? Because I can't wait to see this team on Xbox. It's gonna be crazy. But in terms of just overall talent level, where does this team stack up for you? Because like I look at this secondary, I'm gonna pull the starting because I updated the starting lineup. I've got on BuckeyeScoop.com. I kind of have like a nickel version of a starting lineup, and I'm gonna throw that on the screen. Let me pull that up real quick. But like, where does this team rank? Like, I mean, and also in terms of offseason January excitement, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this.
Well, no, you haven't seen anything like this. And from for me, what makes me excited is it's the combination of raw talent and just sheer emotion and motivation that is going to be driving this team. And it's, like you can't be just driven by motivation alone. But I don't think you can be driven by just talent alone either. 2015 was a prime example of that. We've all seen teams that were supremely talented, but for whatever reason, maybe walked through the season or underachieved or didn't play quite to their potential because they were coming off a national championship or some wild series of success. As we talked about here, this team, this particular group of guys has never beat Michigan, or for the most part, unless they're like fifth-year guys, they've never beat Michigan. They've never won the Big Ten. They've never won a national championship. So it's the perfect storm of just an overabundance of unfair talent combined with off-the-chart motivation. And when that hits, that's when you get to see something really, really special. And that's why I know 2024 will be just an unbelievable special season for all of us to enjoy.
Well, again, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, because this is a really lethal combination of having a severe level of talent and also like an incredible amount of just like we've underachieved the last few years. Like let's put it out there. So we've got a very motivated crew where these guys They want to beat Michigan. They want a pair of gold. These guys don't want to go 0 for and never get gold pants, never get to Indy, never play the Big Ten championship. And then we got this 12-team playoff where they're basically locked and loaded to be in the playoffs. So, the thing that I love about this team, obviously the talent is incredible, but the depth is like something I've never seen before, especially in the back end, in the secondary. I mean, dude, like Malik Hartford is our third safety. Like Jermaine Matthews Jr. is our backup cornerback. I mean, those guys would start anywhere else in America, but we're just that deep. And again, it's a long season. It's a physical season. It's a tough season. And, you have to have reserves, man. I'm telling you, that's why getting Quinshon Judkins to go with Trey, and then you have Dallin Hayden with him too, and James Peoples, that's insane. That's the deepest running back room I've ever seen at Ohio State. And again, long season, and the season just got longer with these extra playoff games, with it being a 12-team playoff. So, it's exciting. I can't wait to get into it. I think it's going to be unbelievable. So I got a few super chats. Got your ticket one. I appreciate that one. Albie OHO. That's a really good question. John Mertz, what's up, brother? Thank you for the 10. Thanks for being in here all the time. This is a fantastic question. Do you think Brian Hartline is being groomed to take over for Bill O'Brien when he probably moves on after a year or two? I think that nobody in the entire Woody Hayes is going to benefit more from Bill O'Brien, other than, obviously Ryan Day. Brian Hartline is going to get a real lesson in running an offense from Bill O'Brien. And, for Brian, who's a young coach, he's never called plays. He's done fantastic work recruiting. He's obviously developed fantastic receivers. First round string is unbelievable. Marvin's going to be the next one. But Bill O'Brien is a guy that could launch Brian Hartline into superstardom, because Bill O'Brien is a guy who's been around the GOATs, literally the two GOATs, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick. He can show Brian, this is how we do business. This is how the elite coaches work. This is how they game plan, and if Brian impresses Bill O'Brien, Bill O'Brien's got 80 million contacts throughout the NFL. And if Brian wants to, further his career as a head coach, whatever, you have to have a network, and he can tap into Bill O'Brien's network. Because you got to understand, if Brian wants to be the next offensive coordinator or eventually be the next head coach, you have to have a bullpen of coaches that you can hire. He has to know good offensive line coaches outside of Justin Fry, a good, another good receiver coach, another good running backs coach, defensive coaches. And Bill O'Brien can tap him into that network, and again, Brian's got a big upside, big ceiling. But I think Bill O'Brien is a guy, again, I'll give Bill O'Brien a lot of credit. And again, if you guys want, if you guys got some time, if you guys are bored this week, go back and watch on YouTube. They've got the Hard Knocks episodes when they did the Houston Texans, and they had J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins. But Bill O'Brien's the head coach, and he's a guy that I think does a fantastic job. And the thing I always give him credit for is he jumped into that Penn State job when it was like this. It was like, it wasn't quite as bad as what this Michigan job was about to be, but I mean, they were down 30 scholarships or whatever it was, and he had to replace Joe Paterno, and he dove into that thing head first, and they were good. They were well coached. I mean, they were undermanned, and they were competitive, and they gave us all we wanted when we were out there in 2012. We were lucky to beat those guys, and that's a testament to his coaching, his attitude, the way he ran his staff and his program. And I'll never forget that. I was like, that dude is a football coach in all caps. And I'm over the moon that he's now our offensive coordinator. But Nevada, your thoughts on Brian Hartline and the impact Bill O'Brien will have on him?
Oh, I think you just made a great underrated point. And, he is, think about Ryan Day. Ryan Day up until now has had to be the CEO, the head coach, the head fundraiser, the play caller, and do everything else that he's doing. Now he's running Bill O'Brien, who's clearly a stud, a former NFL head coach, former big-time college football head coach. And now he's actually got somebody who has the time and the inclination to be able to teach Brian Hartline what he needs. So, no, I could not agree more. Again, A+ point. Brian Hartline is going to be the biggest benefactor on the coaching staff of Bill O'Brien here. And part of the objective for Bill O'Brien that's been laid out for him from Ryan Day is work with Brian Hartline, bring him along, because Ohio State doesn't want to lose Hartline. They want Hartline to develop. I mean, Ohio State's dream is that Hartline can develop to the point that he can become the next coordinator and can actually call the play. That's the best case scenario for everybody at Ohio State. And I'm not saying that's even possible, but if it is possible, the one way you could do it is by having Bill O'Brien here, taking Brian Hartline under his wing and teaching him for the next couple of years, 2-3 years, hopefully, and bringing Hartline up to the point where he could be it. So, no, I think it's a very exciting development for Brian. And the good news is he knows it. This has been communicated to him, and he knows it, and that's why he's so excited about it as well.
Yeah, and if I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm like, look, I ain't gonna be here for longer than 2 years. I mean, Bill O'Brien's a guy that he'll be, if we, win the national championship, if we have massive success, if he turns Will Howard into a first round pick, like, you got to understand, if you're an NFL owner or you're an athletic director, the most valuable commodity you can have in a new head coach is he can develop a quarterback. Like, that is why when people say, oh, fire Ryan Day, ooh, Ryan Day to Siberia, all the dumbest human beings on earth that live on Twitter and websites that aren't Buckeye Scoop, they say, I'm like, dude, he's the best quarterback developer in the country. Him and Lincoln Riley are like tied. So I don't want that guy to go. Like, I want quarterback guy, a guy that can turn Will Howard into a first rounder. You see what CJ Stroud's doing, Justin Fields, like, these guys are all going to be making $50 million a year annually once they re-up. And, I just think Bill O'Brien he's a quarterback guru, and he coaches those guys hard, and he's going to coach his staff hard. And again, the beneficiaries of it are us, because we're going to get to watch an incredible offense next year. And again, people that don't see that just don't know ball. Andre Duke, thanks for the 10. How do you rank this offseason with the coaching moves and the players coming? And let's see, and the players coming. I think you wrote that twice. And the only thing that really makes me nervous is Bob being in charge of the offense. See, if there's one thing in this world that does not make me nervous, it's Bill O'Brien calling the offense. Now, again, people can say you're as good as your last season, and they can look at the Patriots this year, but, when you've got Mac Jones, who stinks, and you have Bailey Zapp as your two quarterbacks, and you're in a division with the Dolphins, the Bills, that is a brutal division to not have a quarterback in when you see Josh Allen and again, like, New England had the worst talent of any offense maybe ever. I didn't even look at any of their guys in fantasy football because, Ramondre Stevenson's about all they got. And the rest of it is just atrociously bad. So I think you can only do so much, even if you're with Bill Belichick and the GOAT. As much as coaching is very important, talent is way more important than coaching. Like, anybody that says that coach, you want to be a great coach, go get great players and have Tom Brady as your quarterback, and magically everyone thinks you're amazing. You look at these coaches that don't have quarterbacks, good luck. You look at the quarterbacks playing today, Baker Mayfield, first overall pick, Jared Goff, first overall pick, Josh Allen, top 10 pick, Pat Mahomes, best player, maybe best quarterback in history. So it's like, if you want to go far in football, you better have a great quarterback. Nevada, how do you think this offseason ranks? Again, I think it's the best offseason in Ohio State history, and I am a student of Ohio State history. Even, I go back to even pre me being born, but definitely since the mid-90s, I've never seen anything like this. But your thoughts?
I would just, even underrated, hires, like bringing Matt in to run the safety. The idea of having a guy that's a Knowles disciple. Matt was at Duke for 10 years and worked, with 6 of them or 10, or whatever. They worked together for years. And you want to talk about having full integration between your front end and your back end of the defense. That is an underrated hire. I know it's not a sexy hire. It's not when the people are jumping up and down going, oh, wow, this is unbelievable. We got this guy. But for us, there's a horse for every course, and that was the perfect horse for this Ohio State defense. And that one, obviously big. Bill O'Brien, we've talked about that one ad nauseum. Look, we'll wait and see. You were talking about, the murderer's row of defenses he's playing against. You didn't even mention the Jets. The Jets are, they've got an unbelievable defense on top
exactly.
of that too. Yeah. So it's like, they have no talent and they're playing against these just just these mega uber elite defenses, and so it's no reason to think that they wouldn't have struggled, and they did. But O'Brien's been wildly successful at the college level. He's coached everybody from the greatest of all time to Heisman Trophy winners. So I think he's going to be terrific here in this particular role. And then look, we still have the 10th accountable coach. I am firmly believe that's going to be James Laurinaitis, and I could be wrong. I've been on a roll here pretty much late in terms of I think it's good James Laurinaitis. Could it not be? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not putting all my chips in on that. I don't have the information on that. I don't have that one, but I've heard it from enough people. I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be Laurinaitis, and it is peculiar that they haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. That does give me a little bit of pause, and that's why I'm off that. But if it ends up being James, I mean, then we've drawn a royal flush as far as I'm concerned, and then we've talked about all the players we've gotten and the players that we've kept. So no, it's been pretty. Ryan has been spitting fire here since the Cotton Bowl, and he's been on a roll, and he's got my full and unequivocal support and belief that he'll do the right thing. So I think whoever the 10th coach is, hope it's Laurinaitis. I know it'll be an ace because Dave's not playing.
Yeah, and I just hope it's a great recruiter. And if it's James or Jason Taylor, I'm good with it. Just because, again, I think that whoever it is, it'll be a dominating recruiter, and that'll be great. Jared A. Brandon, dude, thank you for the 100. Appreciate you being a Scoop Ultra member. We got some Michigan stuff on here. Some Cheatigan fans. I love Cheatigan. That's awesome. Have suggested that they wouldn't be surprised if there were tampering investigations related to all these awesome portal commitments. Okay, sure. Also, with all the loss to the Cheatigan squad, why haven't we seen a lot of urgency from them? They're good as is. I just think that these, again, they haven't really gotten much in the portal. I think that they're just waiting on Jim Harbaugh to go to the Chargers, or the Falcons. I mean, he's having a second interview with the Falcons today. So, I mean, I think that they're enjoying their false title that's going to get stripped. And I think that they're also, the tampering thing, it's hard to quantify the tampering because everybody tampers. Again, they go through the high school coach. They go through the agents, talk to the agents. Like it's so easy to tamper because, the way all this works is like, it's not like Ryan Day calls Caleb Downs or Jim Knowles or whoever, or Tim Walton calls Caleb Downs when he's still, a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide and says, hey, I'd love for you to do it. Now, it's funny because there's a video floating around on Twitter where Caden Proctor literally says that Iowa's coaches were reaching out to him last year when he was, quote, struggling in the SEC, his words. He said, the Iowa coaches, they reached out to me and encouraging me. And I was like, well, damn, that's like automatic tampering. Because you can't talk to kids on another roster legally. That's insane if they did that, and that's an automatic violation. You can't talk to a kid who's not in the portal, who's on another team's roster. But the way a lot of these guys do it is they go to the high school coaches, which again, I could say, hey, I know you coach Caden Proctor, but you've got this 10th grader who's good. And by the way, how's Caden doing? Oh, he's doing good. Well, tell him he's got a home here, whatever. And that's what happens. And that's why a lot of these kids, they dive into the portal and then 8 seconds later, and I'm not bringing, Noah Rogers, nice kid, but he, literally was crystal balled 8 seconds after he got into the portal to NC State. So, I mean, there's always like a lot of smoke around a lot of these things. And honestly, to be real, like the kids I've talked to that have gone into the portal or considered going to the portal, I've told them, I'm like, look, if you're going in that portal, you better make sure you know where you're going. Don't like dive in there and walk into the club and be like, hey, what's up, guys? And then your best offer turns out to be Akron or Tulsa or whatever. Like, make sure that you got a place that you want to go to when you jump in there. Because once you jump in, the portal might shut, the door might shut behind you with Ohio State. Because some of these guys, they jump in the portal and they think they're going to be the belle of the ball, and then the phone doesn't ring, and then they're just working out at Lifetime Fitness for a year, and they're just like, wow, that was dumb. Or you end up at some school that you wouldn't have dreamed you'd ever even envision playing at. So, but Nevada, again, the question, Do you think there could be tampering investigations? I don't, because I think Ryan Day is wicked smart, and I think Mark Pantoni and the people in the personnel department, those guys do stuff by the book. Again, I worked at Ohio State. I know how our compliance department is. They are up our hind end to the point where it's annoying, and we were basically like handcuffed when Alabama and the SEC, they didn't even have compliance. I mean, they did, but it was a wink and a nudge and a fist bump. And our compliance people actually like patrol us and turn us in for, like they turned in Mike Vrabel for chewing tobacco. I got suspended for JT bans, like all this dumb stuff, because they're on it. So, I would bet a lot of money that these guys don't want to lose these jobs where they're making 500 grand to $1 million as coaches because they tampered with some idiot in the portal. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the super chat. As Kirk has mentioned, all of our super chats are ultra memberships, where basically you can join our website, support the website. All that stuff goes to our Pay It Forward. Thank you guys so much for supporting Pay It Forward. Thank you for the question. Great question. First, people have to understand about the way that the collectives work here at Ohio State. All this collective stuff that's done with the players is all run through OSU compliance. So it's not like Ryan Day's just loading up like Mr. Moneybags from from Monopoly, and he puts a big thing and they load the bag in the plane and they run down there in terms of doing it. Like they're doing things through and via compliance. So Ohio State is doing it the right way, doing things the right way, and doing things with an abundance of caution. Secondly, the tampering rules are pretty well laid out. With now that every player has an agent, you can talk to the agents, ostensibly about marketing deals, about other things. That's how the communication generally happens offline. You're never going directly to the players. I can't believe that quote by Caden about the Iowa coaches, because that's just dumb and bad, and that could get you in a lot of trouble. Third, for Michigan, here's a little factoid for Michigan. It's kind of related, tangentially related. One of the things Harbaugh is asking, they've talked about Harbaugh asking for immunity if he was going back to Michigan. So basically saying, hey, if I get suspended, you still have to pay me, Michigan. Well, just so you know, he's asking the NFL teams for the same type of immunity, because he's afraid that the show cause that he's going to get hit with from college is going to follow him into the NFL in some way, shape, or form. And he's asking for total immunity. And that's one of the reasons why the Chargers have kind of taken a step back. And I'm not saying he's not going to end up there, because I still think that's where he's going to end up. But that's one of the things he's asking for. He's asking for, no matter what the punishment does that comes from the NCAA and is either honored or not honored in some way or shape or form by the NFL and Goodell, I want you to, I want you to indemnify me against that and still agree to pay me. And that's becoming a sticking point with him and NFL teams. So that sounds like the machinations of an innocent man, doesn't it? No, it sounds like somebody who's guilty, knows the hammer's coming down. But that is actually what's happening in real time.
Yeah, it's crazy. So again, appreciate you, Jared. Thank you, brother. That's ultra generous of you. Appreciate you. Warpath, thanks for the 10. That's like a Florida State name. I like that. My old lady went to Florida State. Love the poor. Thanks to you and Nevada Buck. Can't wait for the season to start and make our way back to Indy and beyond at Go Bucks. I think that means love the podcast. I don't think you love the poor, but maybe you love the poor too. But I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 10. Yeah, I think that, Indy, this will be an interesting year, man. We get to Indy, man. I could see it being 80-20 Ohio State fans, because it's been so long since we've been there. And our fans love going to Indy, because I remember we stopped at, I go in this party bus with a bunch of guys from New Albany that are great guys, Scott Johnson, some of the greatest dudes in the world. And like, we stopped at one of these, like mega, whatever, like big truck stop things to go to the bathroom, whatever. And they had a liquor store, and they said that they had an entire shelf of Fireball, and Ohio State fans literally bought every single bottle. And I mean, it was like, like a couple hundred bottles of Fireball, all gone. And they're like, we've never seen anything like you guys. You guys come through, you guys buy more liquor than any fan base in the world. And I was like, well, I know our fans like to show out a little bit. They like to have a couple cocktails, be feeling good. And, it's a night game, so you can sit around and watch the other games that are going on. And then like the Saturday night is the big capstone Big Ten game. So our fans like to get a little lubed up, and it was pretty funny. But I was I had this strange pride in our fan base that they bought all of the cinnamon flavored liquor because I thought that was absolutely hilarious. D Sunny, thank you for the 5. Do the Packers have the blueprint? Ooh, Nevada, Packer fan. You ready to go? Draft a live arm, tutor him for 3 years, and then give him the keys. Nevada is a king cheesehead. So do you think the Packers have, because the Packers are pretty good. Do they have the blueprint, Nevada?
I mean, yeah, I don't, the idea that bringing in a quarterback, sitting behind a guy, I just intuitively that just makes a heck of a lot more sense than just kind of tossing somebody in there who has to start. He has to be the guy right off to day one. May not have that type of success. For a guy like Jordan Love to be able to sit behind Rodgers and learn. I mean, you can even see his mannerisms, a lot of things that he does are very Rodger-esque. And yesterday, if you watch the game, it was a crying shame because the Packers were better than the 49ers. They were just better. They were better at every position. They were better, and they just came up short. Didn't really get any luck, and missed a field goal. It's one of those things where their field goal kicker missed a kick in 10 of the last 12 games. He missed a kick, either a field goal or an extra point. And that's the only thing. Like LaFleur, the head coach, I love, but like he ignored the signs, and it's like you can't at the NFL level. You can't miss a kick in 10 to 12 games, and he missed a big field goal at the end, and they lost. But I mean, to go from Favre to Rodgers to Love without interruption is a 30 years of great quarterback play. And so, yeah, we're definitely spoiled as Packer fans for sure.
I mean, did Mason Crosby just fall through? He was kicking for the Giants this year. I mean, God bless. He was with the Packers for like 15 years, and they let him go for the Carlson guy. And I mean, he's still got a pretty big leg. But yeah, I think that the hardest part with the NFL and trying to do what the Packers do is most owners are too stupid to have the type of patience that it requires to develop a quarterback. So you get these GMs in there, man, and it's like if you take a quarterback in the first round, like he's playing. It doesn't matter if he's ready, if there's anything around him. And that's why a lot of these guys, like Bryce Young, won't survive to a second contract because he's getting beat to a pulp in Carolina. And because, you take that kid 1 overall, like they can't have, Sam Darnold, whoever was in front of him, whatever veteran guy that they try to start for the first game. After like one game of the veteran sucking, they put Bryce Young in and he gets pulverized. And, I think that Green Bay has been the most unique franchise in the NFL, and that they had Favre for a long time, that Rodgers for a long time, and now this kid's going to be spectacular. Again, he is the deal, and he's about to get paid in a major way.
Well, and let me make one more point about that just before we move on to the next thing. Like the Packers are such a unicorn in all of sports in that they're community owned, so there's no owner there. There's no ego involved there. I mean, the Packers go out and do a stock offering where they raise $80 million, $100 million. And
a fake stock.
Stock. People buy stock that has no value. There's no dividend. There's no value. There's no reciprocal value.
You have no say in anything.
Nothing. You get nothing. You get a piece of paper, and they raise $100 million. That's how good the brand is. I mean, what a unicorn! What a great franchise.
Yeah, and you compare that to David Tepper, who owns the Carolina Panthers. Like David Tepper is the richest owner in the NFL. Google him. He's a monstrous business guy. He's the guy that hated his boss so much that when his boss, I think at Goldman Sachs, and his boss's wife got a divorce. The wife got the house that was like his boss's like estate. It was like a $40 million like incredible house. David Tepper bought the house from the wife, demolished it, and built a house that was twice as big on the same spot as an FU to his former boss. So he is completely insane and crazy. Now he's incredible business guy, a Pittsburgh guy, but like imagine that's the guy that Frank Wright has to answer to every Monday when Bryce Young goes 5 for 25 and gets sacked 8 times and whatever. Like, I mean, that guy's not gonna have enough patience to have a guy sit for 3 years behind a veteran like Aaron Rodgers. So again, sometimes, like I tell you, if you go to the right organization, like Jordan Love went to a great organization with a very smart quarterbacks coach who's their head coach. And you get to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks who's ever lived, then you're just in so much better. Your trajectory is going to be so much higher than if you go to a place like Carolina, where you get fed to the wolves as a rookie. And again, like, you know, when you absorb 60, 70 sacks and you get hit and whatever, like your body, especially when you're a little guy like Bryce Young, it's not going to survive. Taco Killer, that is a great name because I could kill some tacos right now. Thank you for the 5. I hope with the schedule, the way it's set up, we blow teams out in the first half and let the backups play the whole second half and do that all season. I would give anything for that. Again, we aren't critical. I mean, we're very fair with Ryan Day. Probably our biggest 2 criticisms, and Nevada, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is he doesn't pull the starters early enough. Because again, I'm a big, you know, when I was a player and a coach and whatever, you know, you want to get those started. If you're up by 35 points, 42 points, whatever, get those guys out, get those young guys out there, because those young guys got to go play in the shoe now. Because you can go practice all you want, it ain't the same as playing in the shoe or playing on the road or getting your, you know, getting graded, you know, in game film and being part of that. Because then I lived that. And again, you can practice all you want, but it's different when there's an audience there and you can screw up and the quarterback isn't in a black jersey and he can get hit if you don't take a good pass set, he can get killed. There's a whole different level of pressure. But I think that would be fantastic. The other thing is we think, you know, the quarterback needs to run more, but I think Will Howard is going to fix that. Nevada, do you agree with that? We got to get these starters out if we have blowouts this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, call for it every year. Got to do it. Just makes everything better. Makes practice better. Makes the camaraderie in the room a lot better. Hope it happens. Think it will. Optimistic. So let's go on to some blowouts in 2024.
Absolutely. Rich is where, thank you for the 5. When the NCAA sent Michigan the notice of allegations last month, did it include what the penalties will be? I don't think so. I think that is kind of what we're all exploring and waiting for. Nevada, I don't believe that they ever tell you what the penalties are going to be. I think that's part of the big surprise. Again, it was like with Ohio State when Gene Smith didn't have us sit out the stupid Gator Bowl, and then we got the bowl ban the next year when we could have won a national championship. Like, he didn't think it was on the table, but, you know, when they show up, you know, it is what it is. But I don't think that they don't say the range of penalties, correct?
Well, no. Michigan offered up a 3-game suspension for Harbaugh as kind of like let's make this a penalty, and the NCAA actually rejected that. And then on the second investigation started, Michigan asked the NCAA to combine these, make this one investigation, so it'd be like one series of penalties. NCAA rejected that as well, so that puts them into the repeat offender status because these are separate investigations happening within a 5-year period of time where you have major level 1 infractions. So no, we don't know exactly what it's going to be. We can just only look at what's happened at Tennessee, what's happened at Florida State, and do the math on all these multiple level 1 infractions. It's gonna be bad for Michigan.
Yeah, I totally agree. Great question. Thank you, Rich. Brian Laguerre, thanks for the deuce. All this to lose to Michigan will hit like crack. It's probably not going to happen. Good luck to you guys because we're bringing the war to you guys this year, and I can't wait for it. David Crow, thank you for the 30. Appreciate you, brother. With Sayin coming in, who do you think transfers? I'm thinking Lincoln or Devin. I'm hoping Nolan stays because good, healthy QB competition would be a good thing for the team. Enjoying the podcast. Go Bucks. If you put a gun to my head, I would say Devin Brown. But again, I hope Devin stays. I love Devin. I think he's a great kid. But, you know, again, I don't fault any of these kids that transfer to go play somewhere. You know, Devin probably thinks he's good enough to start somewhere. And again, maybe he beats Will Howard out. Maybe he surprises us this spring. You know, again, the next portal window isn't until after spring ball, so we're going to see Will Howard and Devin in the spring game. They're going to have 15 practices. They're going to have scrimmages. We'll get reports on all of those because we always have spies inside the Woody Hayes to talk about that. But I think that he's going to have a decision to make. And Joe Burrow made the greatest decision in college football history when he went to LSU. He didn't look great his first year, but his second year he took the limitless pill and turned into the greatest season in the history of college football for a quarterback. So Devin and all these kids have ambitions to play in the National Football League, and the only way you do that is playing. Again, Cleveland Browns legend and hero Joe Flacco was told by Pitt's staff, Walt Harris and those guys, that Tyler Palko was better than he was. So Joe Flacco had to pack his bags and go to a 1AA program in Delaware and play there and prove that he was good. And then, he got invited to the Senior Bowl. He crushed it. I was actually on his team at the Senior Bowl, and I was like, who is this guy? 6'6" and can throw the crap out of the ball. And I had no idea who this guy was. And I was like, they thought Tyler Palko was better than you? Because this guy had a cannon, and he was gargantuan. Obviously, he goes first round of the Ravens, and wins the Super Bowl. Has played 17 years in the league or whatever. It's been something crazy. 15 years, I think. But anyways, I think you got to make that decision. You're a quarterback. I hope Air stays. I hope they all stay. But the reality of modern college football is that quarterbacks transfer. I mean, look how many quarterbacks we've had transfer in the last few years. I mean, Jack Miller, Quinn Ewers. We had a couple walk-on guys transfer. So that room is very transient. And again, I'm fine with that. Because the thing I always tell people about Ryan Day is he is not going to sleep until that room is loaded. And that's why, again, people laugh. And there's people on the Ohio State beat that are absolute and total idiots. And they said, oh, Ryan didn't go after Drake May. I was like, oh, I know for a fact he went after Drake May. And when you guys watch the NFL draft in a few weeks or a few months, Drake May is going to be the number 2 overall pick behind Caleb Williams. Lock that in stone. And Ryan Day made a big play for him last year because I don't think he was convinced that Kyle McCord was the answer. So, when I saw that, it raised an eyebrow, but I was also really excited because I'm like, well, if Ryan's going to do something like that, man, I love it because I love watching great quarterback play. And I love when Ohio State has great quarterbacks like Justin Fields and CJ because it makes our lives way better, way easier, way more fun. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? Obviously, they're not all going to stay. Again, this isn't utopia. But your thoughts on the movement potentially in the quarterback room post-spring and in the year coming forward?
Yeah, I understand the question, and I don't want to be dodgy, but I hate speculating on transfers. I just think it's so unfair, and I want to kind of see what happens in spring ball. We know that there'll be some casualties, but as I said, I don't begrudge any of them. Look, I was one of the few people that said I didn't begrudge Kyle McCord leaving. When Kyle left, I was fully supportive of it, just because you want to play. At least all these guys dream of playing in the National Football League. And if he's not going to do it here, man, go do it at Syracuse. Go do you and go play, somewhere that you want to do. It's a position where only one guy plays. And, I respect all these guys who are talking about potential generational wealth. Said it a million times. If Joe Burrow plays Bobby Buckeye and sticks it out here at Ohio State, he never plays, and he's selling cars in Athens, Ohio right now. So, look, they all got decisions to make. We'll know more once spring football rolls around. But for right now, we've got kind of an embarrassment of riches in the room. And sadly, it's not going to always be that way because some of these guys are going to have to move on, and we'll wish them well when they do.
And also shout out to the Lady Bucks. I just realized that they beat Iowa. That's incredible. That was a full house today. And the Lady Bucks beat the number 2 Iowa team with Caitlin Clark. So congrats. That's awesome. Jeremy Price, thank you for the 10. Well, the NCAA poke in to check to make sure we are following all the rules with the NIL. I don't think they need to, just because, I know for the foundation does everything through compliance. Everything they do is through the compliance department. There's no hoodwink. There's no wink and a nudge because, again, these guys, at the foundation have big reputations to protect, and they're not trying to get smoked over doing some dumb whatever. So, I mean, they run everything through Ohio State's compliance department. So the burden is on Ohio State's compliance department to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And again, that's why, when the foundation merged with the O was the basketball collective. And they had, Bill Lewis, Ronnie Stokes. They joined Brian Schottenstein, Cardell, Tommy Heilman, some major dudes in the Columbus business scene. Those guys do stuff the right way, and they're not trying to get smoked by being some back alley bandit, doing NIL deals on a paper napkin. Everything they do is through Ohio State's compliance department at the Fawcett Center. And so they sleep like a baby, I sleep like a baby, and most importantly, Ryan Day sleeps like a baby. So, this isn't some rogue thing because, again, the only way you could screw up all this greatness that's going on at Ohio State is if you just don't do the blocking and tackling right, which is why, again, you run everything through the compliance department. So I in the second part of your question, who oversees that we are doing the right things to make sure we're breaking the rules? Yeah, Ohio State's compliance department. Again, they work hand in hand with the foundation and Gene Smith and Ryan Day, and and we have, our compliance department is probably the biggest in the country, and we have 35 sports, whatever it is, and we've got an army of compliance officers that are up to date on the codes of the NCAA. Again, I had to take the NCAA compliance test when I was a coach. You have to take that every year. So, like, again, we're not going to do stuff the wrong way. And that's, like, again, the thing I love about NIL, because there isn't a human being on this earth that loves NIL more than I do who hasn't been paid by NIL. Now, granted, I just, we would lose guys because, SEC schools would pay guys and they were real sophisticated about not getting caught and whatever. And now everything's level. Now you can openly do it. You can do it correctly. You can do it with a compliance department in lockstep. So everything's done correctly. The payments are done. There's agents on both sides. There's contracts. The contracts are approved by Ohio State's compliance department. So again, it's a very rigorous and thorough process to ensure that there isn't some unscrupulous stuff that has jammed up schools like Florida State and some of these other schools that are getting smoked by the NCAA for doing stuff very ham-handedly. Nevada, anything you'd like to add to that? That is a fantastic question, Jeremy, and I appreciate that.
No, I think you nailed it. It's important people to know that Ohio State uses compliance, and as much as we complain about compliance, this is one time when you can really appreciate their attention to detail and their diligence. But everything on NIL is run through OSU compliance.
Yeah, and again, like that's the great thing about what we do and why we do it, and that's why we can really celebrate getting a kid like Caleb Downs, because we did it all the right way. Like everything was, the I's are dotted, T's crossed, and that helps. That helps build the whole process, and the amount of goodwill that you have between players, coaches, high school programs, agents. Because you don't want to get the reputation where you're the school that does stuff shady, does stuff on the down low, because these agents all talk. These schools talk, these players talk. There's some kids that they sign these contracts, they never get paid. It's a disaster. So it's good to have the reputation that, hey, if you sign this, it's going to be a real deal and you're actually going to get your money. W Buckeye, thank you for the 10. I was doing some research on Belichick, and while his M-boy was with him in 2007. They were sign stealing, very similar to the Harbaugh Spygate thing. I think that team up north thinks they will slide like Belichick. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, they had a huge fine. They lost a first-round pick. I mean, I thought the Patriots got smacked pretty hard at the end of Spygate. I mean, dude, losing a first-round pick in the NFL is devastating. And they fined the organization. They fined Belichick. I don't know if he got suspended or not, but I don't know. Nevada, I didn't think that they slid in Spygate at all, but maybe I'm misremembering that.
No, I mean, they got hammered pretty hard. I mean, it's hard. You got to understand, in the NFL, there's rules regarding how hard they can hit them and what they can do, and they got hit to the max. I mean, and what Michigan did was literally exponentially worse than what the Patriots did. The Michigan thing is the worst on-field cheating scandal in the history of football. I mean, short of bribing an official, like outright bribing an official, I can't imagine anything worse than what they did. And the penalties are going to be commensurate with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, like it's unprecedented what they did. But again, you guys are smart. I mean, the people that are paying attention to this podcast and listen to us, like, you guys are smart. You can see the tea leaves. I mean, Jim Harbaugh is Mr. Bo Schembechler, Mr. Michigan guy, and he's literally running out of there as fast as possible. They're not getting a ton of portal kids. They've got all these kids declaring to get out of there. They know what's coming, and they don't want to be here when it happens. Again, like if you're JJ McCarthy or you're Jim Harbaugh or you're McGregor, the DN, Zach Zinter, those guys are all going to the league because they do not want to be around when when there's suspensions and new coaches and guys getting fired, and again, like they fired I think it's Chris Partridge or whatever his name was, the linebackers coach, on like a Friday afternoon, like literally, and they had to promote Rick Minter to be the interim linebackers coach like during walkthrough on a Friday. Like that's insane, And then they're wiping their Twitter accounts and all this other stuff where it's just like, if nothing's really going on, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Well, Nevada, the AZ Buckeye girl. Yeah, Tommy Howman's a great dude. Appreciate you guys all being up in here today. These games are starting to kick off, so we are going to wrap this thing up. Nevada, any final thoughts? Julian Sayin is in the fold. Coaching staff is forming up. I think that we're still going to be searching the transfer portal for depth pieces, which I'm excited about. Any final thoughts?
Julian Sayin coming is such a huge, massive piece of news. And
Yeah,
yes, we're
unbelievable.
We're on Panda Watch for coach number 10 and for more kids in the portal, but we'll keep you guys tuned. I'm sure that we'll have some more stuff breaking here in the next 24, 48 hours, but appreciate you guys all. Enjoy the games.
Yeah, again, we appreciate you guys. Again, we try to get done before the NFL playoffs because I want to watch as much as you guys do. So I'm very selfish about that. And I know that you guys want to watch some great football today. So appreciate you guys as always. Thank you, Tora, Mello, Susan. I see all our regulars in here. Any regulars I missed, I appreciate you. Expedition Greg, Doug Zilla. Thank you guys all for kicking it with us. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate you guys so much. Best part of my day, every day, is to shoot the bull with you guys. And thank you for the great questions. Again, another great day. Fantastic super chats. You guys bring the heat. Super knowledgeable group. So very, very proud to be associated with you guys because you guys really, you bring some incredible questions and it makes the show so fun because frankly, you guys think of stuff that I haven't thought of. And it's always fun to kind of dig around and give you guys a good answer. So thank you guys so much. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I saw my boys from Gallipolis in the house. Chillicothe, Jared, my man, appreciate you. South Point, Ohio, Chesapeake, Ohio. My Southern Ohio boys, Portsmouth, always coming strong. Youngstown, Ken. We had somebody in Dubai watching. That was amazing. So people all over the world, Florida, Texas, Georgia. Shout out where you guys are watching from. And the new thing is shout out who you're watching with. Because again, I love seeing the families watching the show together. Appreciate you guys so much. Again, you guys are the best. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Congrats to the girls basketball team for knocking off number 2 Iowa. That was awesome. And also thank you, Scoop family. I'm going to go jump on BuckeyeScoop.com, get this message board fired up. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.